be recognized by the black man. We are an international people. Our brothers and sisters are all over the world desirous of doing business with us. But if we are not producing anything, we can't enter into trade and commerce with the nations of the earth. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in Message to a Black Man, quote, as a people, we must become producers and not remain consumers and employees. We must be able to extract raw materials from the earth and manufacture them into something useful for ourselves. This would create jobs in production. We must remember that without land, there is no production. And the surplus of what we produce, we would sell. This would help develop a field of commerce and trade as other free and independent people whose population is less than that of ours. So-called Negroes, the truth must be recognized by the black man.
We're talking about revolution because that's the era that you're caught in. You're caught in a revolutionary era.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad outlined some basic principles. Number one, recognize the necessity for unity and group operation. Do you understand that if we can work together as a group in unity, we will be more successful, more powerful, more able to do the things that as individuals working by ourselves, we have never been able to do. Pool your resources physically as well as financially. Stop wanton criticism of everything that is black owned and operated. Keep in mind that jealousy destroys from within. Observe the operations of the white man. He is successful. He makes no excuses for his failures. He works hard in a collective manner. You do the same. Now, these are things that we must do. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us to commit to save 5 cents a day. He said if we can save just 5 cents a day from our wages, 25 cents a week for 52 weeks in the year, that would mean we would put aside $13 a year that we could save in a national savings treasury. At that time that he wrote this, we numbered 22 million people and approximately 5 million were wage earners. Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year. At the rate of 25 cents per week, it would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies
must be recognized by the black man. The
Greetings, listeners. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad. And I'm going to be in studio with you, inshallah, up to 9 o'clock. And inshallah, in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls. On 3420081 and 4665391. You can send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 3320214. And you can go to the social media pages of the Street 919 FM and follow the program in studio. So, beloved, another week in Trinidad and Tobago. And beloved family, the struggle continues. And, you know, we don't always get to openly see what's happening all the time, but there are these moments occasionally where we get these bursts of truth that highlight what's really happening in our society. And I'm speaking of those images, and I mean, I am one who saw the pictures, but many others that I spoke to saw with their own two eyes just a snapshot of the unemployment situation, where the prisons apparently announced that there are some vacancies, and literally thousands of people lined up from overnight into the next morning.
You've got bills to pay.
And you had the lines of the people in the cars, which from what I understand, extended from the prisons all the way up the highway.
Turn your lights down low and listen to the Master's radio.
It is said
Get
that
in touch with God. Turn your radio
miles.
You are invited to join Pastor Morris Johnson of the Church of the Firstborn Assembly Miracle Center, located at number 399 Eastern Main Road, Guayco in Sangre Grande, for the Old Time Gospel Hour Family Radio Ministry every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Trauma and bereavement. Also every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The Law and You. Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Dealing with disabilities. And every Friday evening from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. All night prayer live on the Street 919 FM. Designed with you in mind. This program deals with today's issues from a biblical perspective. You will also be given the opportunity to call in and interact with us. Micah 6:8 says, He hath showeth thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly and to love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. Your financial support through the First Citizens Bank would be greatly appreciated. Account number 795-2222. For further information, call 753-1113 or 236-7271.
Job Optimum Health and Wellness. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Get your Bioplasma Diagnostic Full Body Scan. Examines all of your organs in a single session. 95% accuracy. It's painless, non-invasive, and affordable. Call Pastor Job at 350-2628, 767-1031, or 275-6300. Sick and tired of being sick and tired? Get your Bioplasma Diagnostic Full Body Scan at Job Optimum Health and Wellness.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Lined up for a job interview? You go for a job interview, you park in the car park or you park on the street. Imagine you being in a queue 2 miles away. And it's not traffic for other things, it's the line for the job interviews. 2 miles of traffic of persons trying to get a job. And that does not account for the several hundreds upon hundreds. I'm not sure if that other line crossed 1,000. It might have. In fact, it probably did. But these are the people on foot who are lining up on that road to go into the prison, winding out, twisting and turning all out onto the Golden Grove Road that leads to the airport. Hundreds of people in all, thousands. One statistic that I heard was 19,000 people trying to get 2,000 jobs. I have to admit, it broke my heart when I got a call from an old student who has their university degree, did pretty well, a young sister, asking for a recommendation to go into the prison service. You know, I asked her, well, for what post? This is someone who's really quite qualified. And she said, to be the regular officer. And that was before I saw the images and the lines. And I thought to myself, okay, so everyone is not going to get through. What are the other options? What are the other alternatives? Because for many, you try something else, get through with something else. But for others, the options might be limited. But almost 20,000 people, even if it wasn't that much, it looked like it could have been either that or more. And what kind of perception is there of our employment situation that you have a job interview at 8 o'clock in the morning and you leave home at 2 o'clock in the morning? And again, so we saw similar images with the cruise ship people last year who came to employ persons, and I also witnessed something that wasn't on the news, but there's this food court. In fact, they opened earlier this year, I think, a food court or food hall in Piarco, right opposite Bagwan Singh's on the highway. This is before they were even built. I saw hundreds. This is for a supermarket that is now open. At the time, there were construction workers on the site building this thing. That's why it was so confusing to me as to what all these hundreds of people were lining up for. For a job at a supermarket, hundreds of well-dressed young people, educated, with their documents in hand. It's an uncomfortable thought, especially as well, I don't believe that we are taking that reality seriously enough. I'm not convinced that it's a priority for us as a nation to fix that problem. And you're hearing responses like, well, it's kind of difficult to believe. But one response was words to the effect of, well, they're trying to make the government look bad. They're trying to make this situation appear worse than it is. You know, if you go in some places, you see there are vacancies for jobs. But not for all of those lining up there to get the prison officer job. Not all of those who are lining up for cruise ships jobs or supermarket jobs by the hundreds. We can't be dismissive about that. Certainly there are those who are politicizing the situation. No doubt about it. But if they are politicizing it, you don't have to politicize it as well. So that was really something. And the thing is, it's young people who are qualified, who are educated, who would have just come out of university not too long ago. So that was, I hope it was like a wake-up call. Let me say happy emancipation to everyone. I was on the TV6 Morning Edition program yesterday speaking about emancipation and what it means, what it represents. And of course, tomorrow at the Kwame Ture Center, we have our emancipation lecture, which is going to be deep. It's entitled Mind Wars Against Black Critical Thinking. So tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock at the Kwame Ture Center, our Emancipation 2023 lecture shall be held, and we're going to take it a couple levels deeper. A lot of black psychology. Mind wars. We're under like a psychological assault. And I want to, and I pledge to make it more known that the language, the vocabulary actually has changed about 20 or 30 years ago already. But of course, we're catching up to some degree. But we don't refer to our ancestors as slaves. Beloved, please. We don't refer to our African ancestors as slaves. They were not slaves. And the Europeans who went into Africa to kidnap our beloved ancestors and continue to commit crimes against humanity against them and to perpetrate the genocide against our people, they did not go into Africa and get slaves. The people who were taken out of Africa were writers, architects, doctors, teachers, philosophers, artists, leaders, kings, rulers. And when they were taken out of Africa, they were enslaved. So enslavement is something that was done to them. But that is not who and what they are. So over the last few decades, the vocabulary has been changing for us to allow that point to sink in. Because even in documentation after emancipation, they still refer to us as slaves, but freed slaves. Now, if they're calling you a freed slave, that means whether you're free or in bondage, you are still a slave. Either a slave in chains or a slave that has been given his freedom. But we were not slaves, regardless of whether we were in chains or not. We were African people from a proud history and heritage and culture and legacy who gave humanity and civilization to the whole world. We were those people and are those people and were enslaved, but now are free, but still on the process towards liberation, because emancipation is something that is given to you. Liberation is something that you take. Emancipation is when our enemies get together and make a decision that they will free us. But liberation is when we get together and decide that we will free ourselves. And so the former enslavers, one of their main victories over us was that they got to write the history and the narrative after the experience was over. And they wrote and archived that history and published it in books that our subsequent generations later on into the future will access. And they designed the literature, they designed the written material in such a way that when our ancestors far into the future, coming from far back into the past, read that, it will try to convince them, oh, you are, in 2023, still a slave. But we freed you. So be grateful to us and enjoy your freedom. But if you know you were never a slave, even though they chained you and enslaved you, if you're cognizant of the fact that that is not who and what our people are, then it would always keep a justification for rebellion and revolution in your consciousness, which is exactly what they try to keep out. And guess what? They have been successful. They have been successful in erasing any motives, intentions, and ambitions for us to elevate ourselves above the modern day slavery that they still try to perpetrate against us. So, beloved, here we are. We were not slaves, and there's one of these ads that's running on television. God, I mean, anyone who gets to the point where they're doing an advertisement on television should know better by now that you cannot put this narrative out on TV talking about the slaves came to Trinidad and the slaves were bought out and they took the slaves. No. Anyone knows that now. In fact, you could ask the children at the Kwame Ture Center, were we slaves? They'll tell you, no, sir, we were enslaved. If we are slaves, then it's fine to stay like that, if that's what you are. But if we were enslaved, okay, we bear testimony that this was something wrong that was done to us that we must get out of. So this, of course, is a very, very, very busy weekend. A lot going on. So tomorrow, Kwame Ture Center, 11 o'clock, we have our emancipation lecture, Mind Wars Against Black Critical Thinking. I will be a guest to meet the King from Ghana. Of course, many people have been asking me, it's like we've been flooded with questions about, is this the same King that you all brought to Trinidad? I think that would have been in December last year. No, it's a different King, different community. But I look forward to meeting. So I would have met 2 Ghanaian kings in the space of 10 months. And so we look forward to that. There are a number of other events. There's an event with our Muslim brothers coming up at the Hyatt. There's an event with our Mason African brothers. A dinner. Evening in Africa is the theme. I'll be speaking at a number of other companies coming up over the next week or so. I delivered the feature address for MTS yesterday, day before yesterday. Beautiful people at MTS. And I actually spoke there. They told me it was 10 years ago. WASA's coming up. Just so much happening. But you know what my priority is? Apart from the Kwame Ture Center tomorrow, my priority is John Day. So I was there last weekend at the John basketball court for an event that was hosted for the children. But this weekend is John Day. Now, John Day is a day that is celebrated by many Trinidadians from Laventille in other parts of the world, like in New York and in London and in, foreign cities where Trinidadians would have migrated to, but retain their love for Laventille. And so, of course, the main place to celebrate John Day is in John. So I'll be going across there. I'll try to make it on all 3 days. But tomorrow after the session at the Kwame Ture Center, some of us will be walking across, and we look forward to that. So we have the short break coming up.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM. Catch all your favorite shows live on Instagram.
We're live on Instagram.
The Street 919 FM. What are you waiting for? Go check us out on Instagram today.
Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Yahweh said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. From now on, when you cultivate the ground, it wouldn't yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a vagrant in the land. This is Bishop Aaron and the Divine Problem Solving International Ministry, who is actually presenting to you The program Blood Has a Voice, right here on the Street 91.9 FM on Saturday, the 26th of August 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. where a battery of speakers from Ghana, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, Kenya, and other global destinations will be in attendance to do God's work. Don't miss this glorious occasion for all the gold at Fort Knox.
Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
Make your moves with us and you can win more rewards in the Magna Java Extravaganza. Each time you use your Scotiabank Magna MasterCard for purchases of $500 or more, you're automatically entered for a chance to win. 45 customers will win 2,500 Magna points, which can be redeemed instantly. Hold on, that's not all. One lucky winner will win 100,000 Magna points. Now that's rewarding. Make your moves with us. Use your Scotiabank Magna MasterCard for your chance to win in the Java Extravaganza. Get details on the Magna Rewards Trinidad Facebook page. Promo ends 31st August. Approved by the NLCB.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Then when we come back, we'll take your calls.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, and now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them.
We examine the facts. We discuss the issues. We interview key players. We are the voice of the people. We are the Street 919 FM. You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
I want to talk about statistics. The majority of our community, and black youth in particular, are about
us who pursue a profession in life never give a second thought to the fact that farming and agriculture is the first profession that Allah God introduced to man. If we study the book of Genesis, which represents the beginning of this world, and it also represents the beginning of every nation, God, after he worked 6 days, creating the heavens, the earth, the rivers, the lakes, the fish, the cattle, the herbs, the insects, the trees, the birds, the bushes, he lamented, saying, "And there was no man to till the ground."
Their system, so you would no longer see the hordes of people flocking to the barracks like that. Right? They have a walk-in and an appointment system and so on.
Yeah.
Also, the same thing as the detail with the cruise ship recruitment as well happened in Tobago. Tobago had a one-off where they were looking for only male applicants. You remember that? That was some months ago. And it was the same thing.
Right.
Hordes of young men. In fact, even though they were looking for people from Tobago, Trinidadians went across as well. Right? And I'm saying for what I saw, it was the optics of it. The prison service should have made better arrangements so that could not have happened. But you are correct. It's sad in terms of because over 30 years ago, I would have went through the same thing in two national agencies, the TTPS and the Defense Force at that time. And it was, it was similar to that. And I was saying, wow, think 30 something years after I would have experienced that. It's still going on, but and I'm saying that it's because of how we have organized the society of here, as I said, in terms of education, when it comes to us, primarily, where the promise of a settled, good-paying government job with benefits, in inverted commas, is all that most of us are geared for when we leave the education treadmill. And even as you pointed out with the sister you spoke about.
Did you say the education treadmill?
Yeah, the education treadmill.
Wow.
Because we still have to get the experience, right? So you could come out with your bachelor's, your master's, and executive MBA as a young person, somebody in the 20s, mid-20s. When you apply for the job, either you're overqualified or you don't have the experience. Good? So, and where's the conundrum? We have widened gate to include the academic areas, and we have neglected the areas of entrepreneurship that can make people self-sufficient, right? So, and a part of that too, brother, is the shutting down of the youth camps and so on, which were another alternative to everybody rushing to go to higher education, and education really that somebody has to employ you, right? Now I heard just last night at the Palo Seco conversation with the Prime Minister, where the Minister of Foster Cummings was actually put on the spot by some of the residents, and he did indicate to them that they are going to use the facilities that Patrician has down there that now fall under heritage to reopen the trade school element down there and offer, employment. Good. He was also put on the spot in terms of pre-qualification for small contractors in the area with some of the bigger projects they are going to. And the questions were answered. But you know what you think about it? It sounds good enough, brother, but the minister could say one thing, but what about the people in the various ministries who are to carry out policies? And this is the thing about it. Moving on to the wider discourse about the enslavement and slavery. You know, brother, the blackest thing in slavery wasn't the black man. I know you know that statement. And that is where we had to start the journey and the mental reconditioning. Because you're correct. The aspect of slavery that many people discount is that it wasn't only about the physical deprivation, but it's also the mental deprivation and programming that went on for 250 years and still continues up to today. And a symbol of that was the hair controversy with the Trinity lads. Good? And I'm saying that what we have done as a people in the diaspora is that we have skillfully and manfully used the systems of colonialism and oppression to improve our lot. But to the former enslavers and their descendants, they still see us as the downtrodden and people who they should oppress. I mean, you look at the refugee crisis from North Africa heading towards Europe now. Now, I remember watching a BBC interview with the guy who does Hard Talk, that's Stephen Saka, and he was talking to one of the African leaders of a minister, in fact, why they don't stop the refugee crisis. And the gentleman told, I forget his name, but he told them pointedly, he said, this crisis is manufactured by Europe and your policies. You see, it is you who have fought wars here, proxy wars here against us and devastated our infrastructure. Therefore, we're now trying to build our economies back. But the people look to your economy to improve themselves because you have it like that. This is what geopolitics and the playing out of your wars have done to Africa, and you all wouldn't acknowledge that.
Exactly.
You see, and on top of that, you all still exploit our resources. Right? You talk about in the clip, as I went to the break, I had the conversation with Mike Wallace and Minister Farrakhan. I watched that interview, and I said, this is the patronizing attitude that the white power structure has towards Africa and people of the diaspora. Why they cannot understand why reparative justice has to take place. You understand? And then when you go back to the Berlin Conference of 1885, and we understand that the genesis of shaping the world post-slavery or the abolition of slavery in most of the wider world is because that was their agenda. Listen, we must always keep our necks on these people. Go back to George Floyd, I can't breathe. And that has been the program from ever since. Brother, and, we celebrate our emancipation. Not forgetting, of course, that our brothers in the in the Latin Quarter, emancipation came much later for them. In Cuba, it was in the 1880s. In Brazil, it was also in the 1880s. You understand? Which is 50 years after we got ours. And the narrative I just said that they shaped us is that they gave us emancipation. So it was like a gift. And that's where the patriarchy and the patronizing comes from. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you read the narrative about Wilberforce and what they did, they didn't do it because it was altruistic and, they had to, it was an economic decision. That's why I always say people need to go back and read how Europe underdeveloped Africa and capitalism and slavery to understand the dynamics of this thing. Whether or not you like the politics of Dr. Williams, that is irrelevant. But the message in there, right? We must understand that. And also the journey of how Europe underdeveloped Africa and from Columbus to Castro. 3 seminal books that people who want to understand what the program of enslavement was about. And then once we go from there, and some of your musings, writings, and lectures, sir, we will begin to understand how complex the issue is. But it's not a simple one.
My brother, you have spoken a lot of wisdom this morning, and I'm very grateful for your call. Thanks so much.
Take care, Doc. And have a good day. And a great weekend.
Caller, good morning.
Mr. Good morning to you, Brother Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
Well, he had a lot of knowledge in him, and I thought he was. You know, I don't want to ask if they remember that in the studio. And it's just a joke. Good morning to your listeners at this time. Let me say good morning to the African community with no apology. At this time, good morning to the African community in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, all over the world. Let me say good morning to the African leaders in the African countries. Wow, I see they are in a summit with Russia. Let me say good morning to Nigeria. Wow, I hope the people of Nigeria is okay. I am seeing a disaster is taking place in one of our homeland, Africa. I hope. Well, I think that it's time for African. It's out of this kind of madness because there's people using us still in it. People using us still because when we just see a former president in Haiti was killed. Brother Mohammed, let me say good morning to Austin Jack Warner.
Oh, yes.
One of our powerful African black man. And this morning, Brother Mohammed, I come to tell all these conscious Africans, we have to protect Austin Jack Warner from some of our own. Not only East Indian or the white. Today I'm seeing, Brother Mohammed, our own people want to send Jack Warner. Brother Mohammed, I am seeing our own people. They never campaigned for Ishan Steve to leave so. But our own people, not the East Indians, not the Chinese, not the Venezuelans, not the 1%, but our own people. This ambassador, this African man who meets kings, queens, chiefs. This man with the world. This man help the world. Show me a perfect man. I show you God. Even Jesus Christ, they are vexed when he walked the earth. Show me a perfect man. I show you God. Even Jesus Christ, our good brother, gets vexed when he walked this great earth. Japona, not perfect. I will never say Japona perfect. But understand. Brothers and sisters, understand, Brother Mama, we also have to protect you. Because Brother Mohammed, I have the record of calling out Austin Jack Warner, calling out Dr. Rowdy, calling out my leader and all, Kama Prasad, etc. That kind of person I am. I am not weak. I am not a fanatic. I am strong in my own way. I am strong in my own way. And if I see anybody doing wrong in this country, Brother Mohammed, I don't care if I support them, I will tell them they are going wrong. Brother Mohammed, Jack Warner. Then Jack Warner come back in the political arena. The attack he gets from our own people is a disgrace to call ourselves African. It's a disgrace. Brother Mohammed, I am not feeling Emancipation Day because our brothers and sisters who is making a hustle in the savannah. Gosh. Brother Mohammed, I'm not feeling Emancipation Day. Where's the ads? Where's the discount? Where's all the mainstream media to promote the Africans? But Mohammed, I am not feeling it. Our children, our young youth, and no, we're going to celebrate African Emancipation Day Tuesday coming here. We bring something. What we ain't know about. We ain't know the history of that thing. We ain't know. But what we know, our African brothers is getting pushed back to make space for this great king, this great African king. Wherever he is, and he's a king, my brother, I respect you. But our people in this country, our African people in this country, is not king and not queen, you know. We are slaves. We are living in bondage. We are living in politics. Brother Mohammed, our African people in this country, some of us want betterment for our children. Because Brother Mohammed, we young people know, our parents never leave land for we, never leave house for we, never leave money for we. Are trying what our parents can do. We don't want to, you have to work. We don't have people work. We want to hear the job. We want to work at when we go in the bank look at us and call me Mr. and Mrs. We don't know work. When they're looking, don't at we. We smart. We're not like our ancestors. We're not like our grandparents and our grandfathers. We understand. Because you know why? We have YouTube. We have Twitter. We have WhatsApp. We have Pay. OnlyFans. We have all kinds of things. See?
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for your call. You've made your point, and we pause for our break. We'll be right back in the 8 o'clock hour with more of your calls.
Expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
This is the voice of the PNM. On Friday, 28th July, Palo Seco, let's have a conversation about reform. Meet us at Palo Seco Government Primary School. All are invited. Our political leader and Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, will be there to have a conversation with you on how this reform is a power shift from central government to your councillors. Let's talk about this power shift, ask your questions, and learn how reform empowers you and your community. Palo Seco, join us on Friday, 28th July. Conversation starts at 7 p.m. Tune in live on all major TV and radio stations and PNM's social media platforms. On August 14th, make the right choice. Vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
Make your moves with us and you can win more rewards in the Magna Java Extravaganza. Each time you use your Scotiabank Magna MasterCard for purchases of $500 or more, you're automatically entered for a chance to win. 45 customers will win 2,500 Magna points, which can be redeemed instantly. Hold on, that's not all. One lucky winner will win 100,000 Magna points. Now that's rewarding. Make your moves with us. Use your Scotiabank Magna MasterCard for your chance to win in the Java Extravaganza. Get details on the Magna Rewards Trinidad Facebook page. Promo ends 31st August. Approved by the NLCB.
Let me go blue. We voting NTA. Go blue. NTA is the way. Go blue. Gary Griffith got the plan. Go blue. So let us save our nation. No. NT. We voting NTA. Voting. We voting NTA. Voting. We voting NTA. Voting. We voting.
Broadcasting from Trinidad to the world, the Street919FM.com.
because we weren't taught business. And those of us who ancestors had businesses, we left the business to run down and sell it out and go into the government business. That is why we have this problem today. We will not see a lot of young Indians outside in those lines. You know why? We see them at every corner, in every van, by every bar, selling double because it has money in it. They're making millions of dollars when the year comes in selling doubles. And we are the ones that are making them rich. But David, I want to welcome the prince from Ghana.
The king?
The king. No, the prince who is here already. The king is coming, but the prince is here.
Right.
The Prince Anna, tell me what the Prince Anna. I want to welcome him to Trinidad and Tobago. I want to also, before I go, I want to also say something. I must commend Marlon Hopkinson. I tell you why. He's one of the only, I had my beast with him on the radio, but he's one of the only reporters on the radio, commentators on the radio, that brings, you understand, fellas like yourself and others to talk and give you time to speak about the Africans. I want to commend him for that. No other do it, you understand, as he does. But anyway, the prince was talking about, I didn't get everything right. He was talking about Fort George. It has a history of Fort George by our ancestors, you understand? From Ghana, we'll hear it when he comes. Because he's visiting, the king will be visiting there, right? But anyway,
it was our African Muslim brother, Muhammad Jonas Bath, who they named Bath Street after, who built Fort George.
Right. Well, he will be speaking about it. But anyway, it was so wonderful to hear this brother yesterday speaking about that African king that will be coming to Trinidad. You know, I sit down and listen. I really want to listen to it. But even I want to say some of our people in this country. We have to understand what is happening to us as a people, you know. The only people that has condemned themselves is African people. We are the only people that go against ourselves. We are the only people that talk about Emancipation Day. When is Emancipation Day? We dress up in African clothing and we don't dress up after that. All other community, Indians do it all the time. When they have their functions, there's no comment about it, but always a comment when emancipation comes and we put on our cultural garment. There's no other garment, no other cultural garment in the world that is royalty. As when African people put on their garment, they walk proud, their head high in the air. You understand? Because that is who we are. We are royalties, royal kings and queens. That is what came out of Africa. The Europeans know that. You understand, Brother David? But our people, for some reason or other, they don't understand that. Another thing, there's an ignorance with our people, and people, some people you believe, have you understanding of it, where reparation is concerned. They had a whole meeting this week in Barbados, you know, with the African diaspora and Pan-African and the in Barbados.
Yeah, always. All the Barbados government. The Barbados government is responsible for probably more of those kinds of conversations in the Caribbean than maybe any other. And you'll see a reflection in the success of their citizens. Barbados is the one country in the Eastern Caribbean that you will never find anyone in Trinidad doing menial work from there. You'll never find anyone from Barbados, for example, and I mean, no, not disparaging anyone who's doing any of these jobs, but you won't find someone from Barbados working in Trinidad as a cleaner or a security guard or working at a gas station or whatever. The people that you find in Barbados working in Trinidad normally have much more well-paid jobs that have a higher educational requirement. And that is because of the strength of the Barbados economy, as opposed to, you know, other places in the Caribbean where they gravitate towards Trinidad for opportunities. Meanwhile, we're gravitating to other places for opportunities. You know?
I'm so glad that you raised that, because yesterday we had a discussion with that, and we were speaking about people like the Guyanese and the, you understand, other Caribbean. When the Guyanese and they come here, they don't do like that type of work, you know. They're always selling something. always telling something, independent work they do. Anyway,
but listen, but the best roti in Trinidad, is made by an African sister from Guyana. She has mastered, and the business that she's doing, I mean, I am so proud of that sister in her whole approach to business. Started off smaller, doing all of these arrangements and everything. Now on the back road in
Sheila.
Old St. Joseph Road in Laventille, Pinky.
Her name is Sheila.
Right, back road road.
I had one there, I did when I came down, but you had one from her.
Right.
I was commending her and telling her about you. She understood your recommendation that I don't eat it. But I did second one I had in all these years. I had one from her there. So let me taste it. She told me I was looking from Tuesday to Saturday or Tuesday to Sunday, not Monday. You understand? Well, David, yes, so I was making me point. When you come into in Barbados, we had the vice president of Colombia, the first black president of Colombia in that conference with reparation.
Right.
And you know, I don't know if you remember years ago, I used to tell you, the people who are going to bring the change in this world are the females, the women, and I'm seeing them in the forefront. You understand? And our people are so ignorant to what was done to us, what we entitled to, and where we are today, from where we come, that they didn't even understand reparation. I am speaking to one or two people, and they're saying, "Boy, that will never happen. That ain't coming." You understand? I'm going to give them money. What they going to do with the money? Spread that to the white people. They don't even understand reparation. What was done to our ancestors. I never use the word slave from Africa. You know, I just said it morning. I always say Africans taken into slavery. You understand? They take us in. They made free people. But anyway, there's a documentary that's run called Blood Tears, Blood Tears, and decentralization, the French decolonization. When you see that and you see what the French did, I say yes. My mother told me when she was a young girl, somebody wanted to carry her to France, you know. And when I see they took a whole generation of the Martiniquans and carried them up to France, and you know what had them doing up there? Cleaning floor, mining babies, cleaning windows, a whole generation they destroyed. You know, the French not easy, you know. The French and they're not easy, you know, but when you see what it is they done, the brothers took out the Berlin conference that they had there, you understand? With the French, the Germans, and the Americans, you understand? But our people have to understand, educate yourself, the education. You see what you are doing there? That is the greatest educate the minds of the young ones. Because Anis was telling me about this brother, Dr. Frederick Douglass. Yeah. I think his son or his cousin or something had some work that he's doing. And she said, nobody in Trinidad do that. I said, no, but David is doing that. You understand? But David, as I'm saying that, this prince talk about two Trinidadians. He spoke about George Padmore,
of course,
and I can't remember the other guy. So he can't. This other guy is African. You know, didn't get African. He spoke about George Padmore.
Probably C.L.R. James. Possibly C.L.R. James.
No, not C.L.R. James. Not C.L.R. Another guy, another person with an African name. I don't know if C.L.R. James. But he spoke of that Padmore, and I'm telling my niece, I said, brother, David is doing the same thing, Dr. Frederick Douglass, son or cousin who never was doing down there, and he said that this guy, he takes no help from nobody. I said, but they did that in building the center down there. You understand? They took nothing from nobody, no help from nobody. It's the people that give and contribute, and he is the only person. I mean, there are others who are doing it, but in the terms of what he is doing, you understand, with educating the young minds and the young people, we need that in this country. But reparation, I never thought I'd have seen it coming to fruit, and I'm seeing it now in this lifetime. Even though I die before, it's totally rich. It is here already, and they don't ignore people on the TV and radio talking that where's reparation, where's that money, and all kind of ignorance because they're not educated. People in the media not educated. Nothing has been said about what took place in Barbados for a whole week on any media here. Nothing. Brother David, as I say before I go again, Malcolm Sonnet, happy emancipation. to the African community, and we all are close to nobody. Listen to me. I have African clothes where I bought down an African trophy. Over 900,000 I paid for it. I would never go in one of them cereals so I'm buy a cheap piece of thing and put on. Because that...
Oh, sorry, seems like you got cut off. But thank you for your call. Caller, good morning.
A pleasant morning to you, Dr. Mohammed.
Good morning, sir.
Doctor, let me greet you quickly and say, Alapia Hotel, the African, and by extension, the entire diaspora. Dr. Mohammed, I do not want to be long contribution. But all I will say this morning, what I would want to say after Emancipation Day is two critical areas. And I know you have been working on these areas since we started the movement. And this is my perspective. Finance, banking, land tenure, and land acquisition. So therefore, let me repeat. This is what Mr. Tabakit wants to see. Land tenure, land acquisition, banking, and finance. And I expect everyone contribution. But until that land tenure and land acquisition, banking and finance, to me, this is where, in order for we to go anywhere, and your dear wife, Sister Roxanne, coined the phrase, united we bargain, divided we beg. And we understand that meticulous philosophy. Yes to walk, yes to dance, yes to the lectures. But it will serve us no good. People cannot capitalize the tenure, land position. When you start the program and you start playing his worship, Brother Farrakhan, his centerpiece is land tenure and land acquisition. And when you have that, you could go into groceries, you could go into agriculture, anything. And once I take my leave, let me repeat it for the billionth time. My wish for this emancipation is land tenure, land acquisition, finance, and banking, and we top it off with education. That is my emancipation greetings. I thank you. Tabak it out enough, Doctor.
Thank you, my brother. Always appreciated. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning.
Good morning, beloved.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I just have to...
All right. Stay focused. It's all right. Everything's going to be okay. Just be focused.
All right. Okay. But to start, in this global village that we are a part of, there's a crisis.
Yes.
It is clear. There is a crisis in this global village, whether it's created, and most of the information that you're seeing is that this is created. And we too here are still, we have our share of unemployment and whatnot. But yet, people are leaving all over and coming here. Can you imagine? There are still people coming from all over the Caribbean, and they are coming here. Another thing is, I don't know, to me, another thing with the slavery, why we always start our history from slavery. We go back thousands of years, but yet we always start with our enslavement and our history. Another big lie that keeps us enslaved is that we were given something. We were given our freedom because, what the man name again? That man who used to kill how many Indians, hang them a day. Oh my goodness, Abraham Lincoln with his pious looking self. He and his wife told him, oh, give them their freedom, and then he gave us freedom. African people fought and freed themselves. Nat Turner, Toussaint Louverture. These are the people who got our freedom first because we were revolting and they couldn't deal anymore with it. So much to say. As regard to Jack Warner, I would still say that if Jack Warner had come back into politics and he got a deal and he was on the side of the PNM, would he be the greatest thing since sliced bread for some people?
He would have been the greatest thing for anyone who he joined. You know, and what's sad about the Jack Warner situation for me is you have a lot of people who are criticizing him, a lot of people who have made serious, strong condemnations of him. But the truth of the matter is, I think, if we're all honest, not one of these politicians out here, in my humble opinion, I mean, if I think about it, maybe I could come up with a couple who did something, but most of them, well, I could definitely say all of them who criticized Jack Warner have not done a fraction as much for this country as he did. Love him, hate him, like him, dislike him, whatever. What he has done for Trinidad and Tobago on the world stage is, I mean, it goes beyond. How many members of parliament do we have? 41. I think he has done at least 10 times more for this country than any of them. And what's peculiar to me as well is the joy that they get from trying to bring him down. It's worrying, you know?
Yes,
and the other thing, I saw this, I'll just say it as I saw it. I saw this Chinese man dancing on television again, and I felt that he was capitalizing on the fact that there's black on black self-hatred. He was in a very jovial mood. I think he's taken advantage of black on black self-hatred because he is saying, talking about extraditing Jack Warner. Now, if Jack Warner is guilty, then send him back. If he's innocent, keep him here. If Jack Warner is guilty of anything that was not the culture of FIFA, that was being done by all of the officials, if he's guilty of anything that they didn't do, send him. If he's innocent of that, keep him here. Protect him as a citizen. But don't make the decision that he's either innocent or guilty based on whether or not he's coming back into politics. When it gets to the stage where you can openly declare, all right, if you come back into politics, we'll have a first-class ticket to Miami for you to go to jail. I mean, we should all collectively feel sick that there are people with political power in our country who could with confidence, boldly say to the whole population, this person here that we're looking at, we will proceed to make a move if he comes against us in politics. No, that's, and it's a worrying sign for so many other things. How else is this political power being used?
But what I am saying is the way you left the politics, with whom you left the politics, and the way you are coming back. Now, added to which, I don't think whomever in FIFA is doing whatever, that's their thing. Mm-hmm. You look at all of them and you see their color and their complexion and their
they get away with it.
And they will get away with it.
And like Mohammed bin Haman, the African Muslim brother, who was also very powerful in the Middle East as one of the heads of FIFA, he did the same thing that all of them did. They banned him for life. Do you know that Michel Platini, who was the president, Michel Platini, who would have been the president of FIFA, right? He would have been. They gave him 8 years. 8 years.
But that is the thing. We ought to know better. and there is a saying that goes, we are punished more than anybody else because we ought to know better, knowing who we are, knowing that we are the people who ought to know better.
Who are targeted.
But I would say, how low can you go when you steal from Haiti for openers? Added to which I saw an interview with Jack Warner, and I think that is what sealed the deal. This white BBC man interviewing him, and he told the man something about his mother. The man said, oh, unfortunately...
Andrew Jennings.
Yes, she passed on, you know. And then he tell the man, I could spit on you. Mm-hmm. You don't do these things. All these BBC people are pumpkin vine to the Queen. These people, listen to me.
I hear you.
These people are very diplomatic.
I hear you.
But nonetheless, that is the Jack Warner.
No, but they know how to make us trip too, you know. They specialize in being able to make us trip.
But after you have been there for how long, you don't sit back and learn them and understand, listen, what is happening, and play the game with them. You're going to stop on the say about your mother and the people spit on you?
Oh, my God.
Oh, come on. But anyways, that's a whole other issue. But to some people now, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I don't know. All I'm saying is, have a good emancipation, everybody. You were not given any freedom. We fought and fought dearly for it.
Liberation.
Our liberation. And added to which, wear our traditional clothes and enjoy it. All right. I think that's about it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, my beloved sister. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Oh, man. Trinidad and Tobago. Let me add, I normally say this at the very beginning of the program, but please be careful on the nation's roads. Listen, I saw an accident this morning as I think out of every 10 Saturdays, if I come down to the studio 10 times on a Saturday morning, I would estimate that I see car accidents on at least 6 or 7 of those mornings. But this morning, that accident that I saw, it looked kind of obvious what was happening. 2 cars were side by side fighting for space in one of the not shoulders to turn off the highway. See, 2 cars lit almost like nose to nose, side by side, squeezing in, and the damage looked pretty bad. So please be careful on the roads. Beloved caller, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Brother David.
Yes.
I know listening to you here and talking about what Jack Warner have done a lot for this country. I would love to know what you have done for African people. I would love to know, because that same man watch African men, footballers come back from the World Cup and deny them their money, and take this money and go and give it to Indian training down in Central and give them scholarship. Brother David, you boil my belly this morning, Me ain't lying to you. I'm telling you, it hurt my belly so much because from the start of this with these footballers, because I'm a footballer myself, and I watch it the same way. When these things was unfolding, when they had to take him to court, you hear them cheers. You know what I say? Them same little black men who play their heart out for this country under Jack Warner. Jack Warner have give them nothing and take it and give them Indian training central and give it and give them scholarship. Brother David, me and Liner, it's the biggest hypocrisy I've ever heard in my life this morning. And this man, what should I do African, Me no Trinidadian, I African. So me don't fight people. Me don't fight them black man. And I love you, But I can't stand what you said this morning.
All right, let me engage you for a bit. Let me get you. You said you're a footballer.
Go ahead.
Were you a professional footballer, national footballer?
I didn't make national because of me.
Because of?
Me. My cowardness.
Cowardness?
My cowardness, yeah.
What do you mean?
I didn't have the belief in myself.
Okay, so you used to play in the league?
Yeah, I play in all kind of league, all over Trinidad.
For what team?
Well, I play for St. Joseph Road. I play for all teams. I go and play. I play for your team and all the St. James at the Hawk. I play for all kind of team all over.
Wait.
I play for
my team?
Yeah, well, I believe that your team.
Which Trendsetter Hawks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. Now, listen, brother, don't think that I don't hear what you say, and I am very much aware of all of those issues, most of which, to the best of my knowledge, have been resolved. I myself, in working for the Football Federation, in some instances, it took 7 years. 7 years for some of my matters to be resolved. But the thing is, and I'll tell you this, and I'm sure persons involved in the football industry would bear witness to this, what I'm about to say to you. Persons who were involved in the football industry when Jack Warner was there, and also after he left, like myself. I was in the industry when he was there, and I was still in the industry for 2 administrations after he left.
No,
but wait, I just want to make this point. Point. That yes, there were a whole lot of problems when he was there. But it got a whole lot worse after he left. And to me, the biggest collapse was with our league. Because the Professional Football League can employ well over 1,000 people. I mean, I did the maths the other day.
Yes, I heard you. I heard you.
Okay, right. So you understand that point.
But listen, yeah, I understand that point. But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
The damage he have done to the African footballers, right? And see them Indian children. You know how the children going today? Based on the damage you have done to the same African footballers.
Okay, which African footballers? Which African footballers would you say he damaged?
Who they made the deal, tempted to say, and he was to pay them their money, you take him to court.
Right.
Do you know what's going on with them and the children today? Based on what he have done to them? And take the money and give it to Indian children in Central.
Well, again, I hear that. I hear that. That has always been a peculiar factor.
I'm asking you.
Right, okay. Let me answer you. Let me answer you. Let me answer you. Now, the footballers that you're referring to as the ones who were damaged by this are, in fact, among, and still up to this day, some of the most successful young people in the entire sporting industry in the Caribbean. You're talking about Dwight York, who was just a coach in Australia. Wow. Russell Latapy, who was just the head coach of Barbados. Stern John, who was just the head coach of Anguilla. You have people like Clayton Ince, who is now the national goalkeeping coach. Shaka Hislop. Oh, and we say, may Allah protect our brother Shaka Hislop with his collapsing the other day. Shaka Hislop is probably the wealthiest of them all. Kenwyn Jones, whose salary at one time was $500,000 Trinidad dollars a week or a month. So the same ones within that category are the ones who have been the most successful. The bigger picture for me is the Professional Football League. The national team that went to the World Cup was 24 players. The Professional Football League is close to, I mean, you're looking at 40 multiplied by 12 approximately, plus staff, plus auxiliary, plus other persons involved in the industry. And when you look at the football team that Jack Warner owned, for example, Joe Public, there was one. This is local. This isn't foreign-based players.
Yeah, but
one second. You had players who were earning as much as $12 $22,000 Trinidad dollars a month.
I hear all of that, but
right? No, yeah, but if you have a whole league,
but you call a few names. I'm saying to you, you call a few names.
Yeah.
At the time, the damage what you have done to them, Brother David.
What, the same names that I called?
Yes, there's on the SU, Brother David. On the SU, I'm speaking on the SU. Based on what he put them through, and he put the children through, and yet when you do a black man, will you going up so high, right? Brother David,
right, okay, but okay, another one. Okay, we could call some more of them. Brent Sancho. Brent Sancho.
Look what we're seeing. Why are we making the excuse?
Brother, okay, you're speaking of emotions a lot, and I appreciate that. I understand that, but I cannot accept. Hear what I cannot accept. I cannot accept that any players were damaged by that experience because.
Serious, Brother David.
Well, okay.
But look what he did. He's taking money,
Who?
Brother David.
Who?
Look what he have done. He's taking money. And he gave it to Indian children and get them scholarship.
All right, I hear that. Like I said, that part I cannot explain. That part I cannot explain. But the simple point that I'm making to you, just listen to the one point. It's just one point that I'm making with you. It's one point that I'm making with you. And you're getting too much emotions involved in this and less reason.
I love my people.
Right, but if you love your people, love them with reason, logic, and common sense, and not just emotion. What I'm saying to you is...
All I say to you is not reason and common sense.
I'm trying to reason with you, and it sounds like you're refusing.
No.
What I'm saying is you use the term... the term damaged. That these players were damaged. And I am putting it to you. I have worked out of those 23 players. I personally worked with 18 of them. Dennis Lawrence is another one. Sid Gray is another one. Kelvin Jack is another one. Silvio Span. I am putting it to you that those 23 men that you're referring to as being damaged by Jack Warner have had, up to this very day in 2023, some of the most successful careers in the history of Trinidad.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919.